Hey, seniors. So, here is the activity that I was just speaking about in that weekly breakdown video that's going to put an end to Unit 23.5, Eisenhower in Latin America, and also probably put an end to History of the Americas, the Cold War. We're going to be moving into Vietnam, and I think that we're just going to close out the year on the Vietnam War from a very kind of just U.S. history perspective. So, this is I found this on a website that I use that I've been using for a while now. It's called Active History. I didn't come up with this, but it's really good, and I want to give credit where credit is due. So this PowerPoint, this activity corresponds with this worksheet that's already up on my website, as well as the Google Classroom. Essentially, what you are going to do is watch this video, obviously. All right. And as I come up with these situations, right? So we're going to talk about Eisenhower's first term. We're going to talk about Guatemala. We're going to talk about Eisenhower's second term. We're going to talk about Cuba. And we're going to talk about the Dominican Republic. All right. I'm going to give you scenarios. All right. You are going to kind of take notes on the situation. You might need to do a little bit of research on your own to kind of fully paint the picture. I'm going to try to make this in under 15 minutes so it's going to be, I'm going to be skimming a little bit. So you might need to take some notes in this column right here. Then after I give you the scenario, I'm going to give you three options of what I could have possibly done in that situation. You are going to kind of evaluate what you would do on a 100% scale, right? So in the first situation, if I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of torn 50-50 between option A and option B, I'm going to write 50% here and 50% here, all right? If it's 33, 33, 33, I'll do 33, 33, 33. If it's 100, 0, 0, I'll do 100, 0, 0. You guys get the point. It doesn't need to be nice even numbers on that. It could be 60, 40, 80, 20, whatever, all right? So then at the end of the video, all right, you're going to go in and you're going to give your comments on, wait, here's what I thought Eisenhower should do. Here's what he actually did. Here's how I feel about this. All right, so let's hit it. So do you like Ike? What? Okay, so Eisenhower's first term. All right. So when he comes into the office of the presidency, he is coming off the back, obviously, hopefully, Truman. All right, and the policy of containment. Him and John Foster Dulles come up with the kind of new look, which is a lot more aggressive. The idea of rolling back communism. We already talked about all this. Hopefully, this is a review for you. All right. One of the big things that Ike does is pull out of the Korean War. They end the Korean War. Kind of containment is fulfilled there because the North and the South are kind of on the same dividing line that they started from. So containment is a plus, right? So what do you think that he should do to kind of have this idea of containment or rolling back, whichever one you want to look at, towards Latin America? Option A, provide military aid to hardline non-democratic regimes. Promote democratic elections and provide economic aid to Latin American countries. Threaten Latin American countries with massive retaliation if they forge links with the Soviet Union. So again, he's coming into the office of the presidency. He's already stated that he's going to have kind of a new policy, a much more aggressive policy towards communism than Truman did. And, this idea of containment is really going to be a hot button issue for him. So what do you think he should do? Option A, B, or C? Pause here. Take some notes on the situation. Evaluate using the percentages in the columns. Now, moving on. Here's what he actually did. All right. Eisenhower is going to provide a military aid to hardline non-democratic regimes. All right. So essentially what he does comes up with the idea that in democracy, people have a voice. If you have a voice, the Communist Party might become popular and they might become communists, especially in Latin American countries that are pretty poor. We've already figured out during the Marshall Plan, during Marshall aid, that poor countries turn communist. We've already made that link together. So Eisenhower reacts and he's like, all right, I obviously can't support democracy in these countries then. I have to back dictators because dictators squash voices. If people can't talk, they can't petition, they can't lecture, they can't do whatever needs to be done to bring communism to the forefront in these countries. So he is going to put a lot of money and a lot of military aid in the hand of dictators. All right. By 1954, Latin America had 13 dictators among its 20 nations. All right. That is the result of Eisenhower and this idea of containment. Right. So that's what he actually did. Now at the end of this video, or now, doesn't matter. You can pause it now if you want. You're going to go in this last column right here, and you're going to evaluate it. Give me your own opinion here. Don't say, oh, this was good. Give me a justified opinion. This was bad because. This was good because, right? Give me some substance here. Moving forward. Guatemala. All right. So Guatemala is going to hold on one second, my dog. Okay, I should be back. Sorry about that interruption right there. So, Guatemala. In 1951, we're going to have a new president in Guatemala. All right, and Guatemala is going to start to become a little bit more liberal in what they're doing. So, they're going to take the land that had belonged to the United Fruit Company. We see right, in the 1940s, we're going to see a lot of American dollars, a lot of American money from big businesses go into Latin America, especially in the agricultural industry, and take their land, get a product, ship it back to the United States, right? We're going to see that in Cuba, which we're going to talk about. Hopefully you guys read about at some point since I told you about the Castro thing, but that's a story for another day. So United Fruit Company. They start to take the land and they start to redistribute that land to the peasants. All right. We know that is a very left-wing idea, redistributing land to the peasants. So that doesn't make the United States that happy that peasants are getting land given to them, right? We're taking land away that used to belong to American companies and we're giving it to the peasants in a country. All right. So what do you think Eisenhower is going to do? All right. This video you guys can watch on your own time. Authorize the CIA to organize an armed coup to replace our... Let me try that one more time. Arbenz, slip of the tongue. So authorize an armed coup to replace him as dictator. All right. B, increase foreign aid to the country to further reduce the appeal of communism. Or C, impose economic sanctions on Arbenz to bring him under control. So pause here. Give me kind of your evaluation of what you would have done. And picking up, let's see what Eisenhower did. So, hey, all right. So he is going to authorize the CIA to organize an armed coup to replace Arbenz with a dictator. Again, America supporting dictatorships in Latin America. Okay. Eisenhower's second term overview. Okay, so in second term, the coup in Guatemala wasn't a very, very good look. Richard Nixon at the time is going to do a tour of Latin America to kind of show the Latin American people good faith in the United States, that we're trying to do the right thing by them and protect them not only from communism, but also help them economically by putting in a dictator that we can kind of funnel money through. When he gets there, like when he goes to Peru, he's going to be stoned by students. They're going to throw rocks at his cars. It's, again, Latin America is very angry about the stance that the United States is taking in Latin America. So America is going to kind of realize that maybe they're not doing the best thing for the Latin American people. We need to figure out a way to kind of show the Latin American people that we don't not care about them, right? That we place value in the sufferings that they are going to. So what should Eisenhower do to try and repair the relationship? A, implement wide-range trade agreements and generous loans across Latin America as per a 4-point program and the Mr. Y telegram. withdraw economic aid from the dictators, Batista in Cuba, Trujillo out of the Dominican Republic, and liberalize those regimes, or continue to support covert CIA operations across the region. Take a minute, evaluate those three options, and we'll pick back up with the answer. B and C. All right, so he does both. So Eisenhower did withdraw economic support from dictators in some of these cases, Dominican Republic and Cuba, to be very specific. That event, right, that withdrawing of support of Batista in Cuba is going to be a direct reason why Castro comes to power not shortly after. It takes a little bit of time, but shortly after. All right. But at the same time, he still tells the CIA to go in to these Latin American countries and have kind of coups against people that aren't going to support the United States or pro-communist, and kind of keep the American agenda going forward.